You may have to face a process diagram like this in IELTS Writing Task 1 if you are taking the academic variety. Let's practice this together, shall we? The diagram below shows how a simple water filter is constructed and how it functions to produce clean drinking water. Diagram. So in the prompt, it says shows, but we're not going to use that word. We're going to use a different word. So we can write illustrate or demonstrates. For example, the diagram demonstrates the process of what? How a simple water filter is constructed. So we can write process of constructing, or better yet, we can write a different word, process of building. In the prompt, it says a simple water filter, but we're not going to use the same word here because we're paraphrasing. We are supposed to use different words. Process of building. So instead of simple, what can we write? We can write a basic water filter, or we can write a straightforward water filter. Building a straightforward. Now, we have the phrase water filter right in the prompt. So is it possible to use a different expression instead of water filter? If it's possible, then go for it. If it's not, then use the existing word or phrase. Okay, it's not like you have to replace a word or phrase each and every time. No, sometimes you don't have to replace. So here, instead of water filter, we can probably say a filtration system or a filtration device. Okay, filtration device. And how or the way the device operates. So the word device is already mentioned. We're not going to repeat that. So we'll use a pronoun here. The way it operates to supply. So instead of produce, I'm using a different word. Supply. Supply water. So in the prompt, it says clean drinking water, but I should not be repeating that. I should use a different expression. So supply water, I can probably write it this way. That is safe for, or maybe suitable for. How does it read? The diagram demonstrates the process of building a straightforward filtration device and the way it operates to supply water that is suitable for drinking. So this is our paraphrase. Okay. I've done nothing new here. Just said the same thing using different words. Okay. Now, the first part of the task is done. The first part is called the paraphrase. That's done. Now we should write an overview. Okay. It's possible to write the overview here in the second paragraph, or it's also possible to write the overview at the very end. Okay. Overall. Now, what goes in the overview? In the overview, what we do is we put something, we describe the big picture. Okay. We put something big. We don't go into the minutiae or the small details. Okay. Just the big picture. Impure water is poured here, and that it transforms into drinking water or clean water. Okay. And so if you consider the pouring, the first action or the first step, and the storage of the water into the storage tank, another step, and the process in which the water gets purified, that can be regarded as a third step. Okay, so we can probably write something like that. Overall impure water, impure water is fine, but we can probably also write overall untreated water is transformed. So transformed into what? Transformed into here, drinking water. Okay, so instead of drinking water, we can write drinkable water. Just a slight variation here. Drinkable water in a three-step system. Okay, so the pouring action, I consider that one step, and the actual purification process, I've considered that step two, and the storage of the water in the storage tank, I've considered that step three. So that's why I'm calling it a three-step system. Okay. Untreated water is transformed into drinkable water in a three-step system, which, I mean, I could just leave the overview here just at that. But then again, it says here in the prompt you have to write at least 150 words, so it may be difficult. It may be difficult to reach that word count if I make my sentences so short. So I'll try to make it a little longer, okay? In a three-step system, which begins when. So where does where does the three-step system begin? The three-step process begins here. When the water is poured into a drum. When the water is poured into a drum, means when the water into a drum and ends. You can write ends or you can write concludes, and concludes when clean water here. It concludes when clean water gets transferred to the storage tank. So instead of gets transferred, that doesn't sound so good because this is, academic writing, formal writing. So I will write is transferred into a storage tank. Okay, so let's give that a read. Overall, untreated water is transformed into drinkable water in a three-step system, which begins when water is poured into a drum and concludes when clean water is transferred into a storage tank. Yeah, looks good to me. Now, the second part of the task is also done, which is called the overview. Now we'll write the main body of the task, of the report, okay? Like I said, in the overview, we just shed light on the big picture, but in the main body of the report, we'll describe everything in great detail, okay? All the steps. So I can write, a prepositional phrase like this at the beginning of the process, or maybe something a little bit fancier at the onset of the process. At the onset of the process, water. So this is impure water. I do not want to use the expression impure water. Why? Because it's already mentioned in the diagram. So if I can write a different expression, that would be a bonus point, right? So instead of impure water, I can say contaminated water or water with contaminants. Water with contaminants is poured to a container. Yeah, water. Impure water is poured into a container. That's so obvious, right? Um, Now, what is this container? This container is actually the filtration system, the filter, right? So I can say that constitutes water filter. To constitute means to be something, okay? So a container that constitutes the water filter, it means a container that is. So, is a form of be that constitutes the water filter. At the onset of the process, water with contaminants is poured into a container that constitutes the water filter. Now, so this water filter, basic water filter of the filtration device, is made up of sand, charcoal, and gravel. Sand, charcoal, and gravel. So we should write that. So instead of writing the water filter, I'm writing something else. The filtration device or the filtration system is, I could write made up of, but then again, it's such a simple expression. So can I write something more sophisticated? Maybe comprised. The filtration device is comprised of 3 layers of materials, right? 3 layers: sand, charcoal, and gravel. So that's what I'm going to mention, namely sand, charcoal, and gravel. Now this comma, this final comma before and, this is actually not mandatory. It's possible to leave it out. Yeah, you can leave it out. This is called the Oxford comma. The filtration device is comprised of 3 layers of materials, namely sand, charcoal, and gravel. What happens next is contaminated water becomes safe for drinking, right? Contaminated water becomes safe for, we can say drinking, or we can say consumption, as it travels or as it moves downwards through through the 3 layers, right? Sand, charcoal, and gravel. Through the layers in succession. In succession means one after another. So what else can we add? My word count right now is only 106 words. And the prompt says clearly, categorically, that you have to write at least 150 words. So I have to make it a little longer. I can see that there is a lead here. So I can probably mention the lead. The container holding the filtration system. So instead of water filter, I'm saying filtration system has a lead used to, what is the lead used for? It's used to cover the system when not in use. Okay, so the lead is used when the system is not in use. Okay, and next I can write. I can write about I can mention the hose or the pipe that is connected connected to the filter is a hose. What does the hose do? The hose or the pipe transports water to the storage tank. So I'm going to write just that. Is that transports the pure water into a container. Now, the hose transports the water into a container used as a what? Used as a storage tank. Container used as a storage tank. Perhaps I can use a slightly more sophisticated word, like used as a reservoir. Reservoir means a storage tank or storage tank. Now, if we look at the storage tank, we can see that there is a tap or a faucet attached to the storage tank. So I can mention that there is a tap. Should I write tap or faucet? Let's go with faucet. Faucet is British English and tap is American English. Tomato. Okay. There is a faucet affixed to the tank which allow access. Hang on, I've made a mistake here. Which allows access to the water. At the onset of the process, water with contaminants is poured into a container that constitutes the water filter. The filtration device is comprised of three layers of materials, namely sand, charcoal, and gravel. Sand, charcoal, and gravel. Contaminated water becomes safe for consumption as it travels downwards through the layers in succession. The container holding the filtration system has a lid used to cover the system when not in use. Wait, this expression doesn't sound right. Cover the system. I think this phrase is not needed. Has a lid used to cover the system. The container holding the filtration system has a lid used to cover the system. Connected to the filter is a hose that transports the pure water into a container used as a reservoir or storage tank. There is a faucet affixed to the tank which allows access to the drinkable water. All right, so the word count is 157. We can give it a quick read. The diagram demonstrates the process of building a straightforward filtration device and the way it operates to supply water that is suitable for drinking. Overall, untreated water is transformed into drinkable water in a three-step system. Which begins when the water is poured into a drum and concludes when clean water is transferred into a storage tank. Okay, and I already read that, so. All right, hope you found it helpful.